Thank you, Dr. Sheth. We appreciate your participation and support as usual. Now we are switching over to our next session, which is of Mr. Dev Ahuja, who's Executive Vice President and CFO of Novelis Inc. Here in Atlanta. And session title is Keynote Global Transformations and Disruptions, Lessons for a Global Business in the Post-Pandemic World. This is very similar to what the conference title is, but it is going to be addressed to a global business.
All
Dave,
right.
are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, good. I think we have a copy of your presentation just now. So give me a second while I'm sending this to my colleague here, Jim. And in the meantime, you can start introducing yourself as well as Novelis.
Perfect. So good morning, everybody, and it's great to be here. Unfortunately, it was just not possible to be there personally and face to face. I will do my best to cover the topic of my presentation remotely. So really, starting from what the topic is, we are going to be talking about global digital transformation and disruptions. And we will talk about what Novelis has been doing in this space, what are the lessons we have learned on our digital journey, what are the accomplishments that we have been able to get on our journey. So that will be really the focus of my presentation. Let me first begin with the agenda, just to walk you through how we are going to sequence it. I will start by talking about Novelis briefly for so many of you who may not know us. Talk about how our lives have changed after the pandemic, and then get on to the main topic, which is really how we see digital technologies as a key enabler for our business, and really get a bit into some of the real life things that we have done. What have we learned from there? How do we see the journey going ahead? And really that will be the conclusion of my presentation then. So moving on to the next slide.
Dave, would we, for some reason, are not receiving your presentation? Would you be able to share with us, please?
Oh, okay. Absolutely. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. I think we have received it and we are projecting it now. Dave, can you hear me?
Yes. Have you got it now?
Yeah, we have received it and we are projecting it.
Okay. All right. So then I'm sorry about that misunderstanding. So I'm on the slide number 3, if you can go there, which is about who we are. So Novelis is a company headquartered out of Atlanta. I will just wait for it to go to slide number 3. Yes, this is the slide I want. Okay. So Novelis is a company headquartered out of Atlanta with a global footprint. We have altogether 12,690 employees. Our operations are spread over 9 countries with 33 manufacturing locations. Our annual shipment volumes are 4 million tons. We are really the largest downstream aluminum player in the world outside of China. Our revenues last year were of the order of $17 billion, and our annual EBITDA is $2 billion. We are a subsidiary of the Aditya Birla Group, which is headquartered in India and is one of the largest business houses in India. So that's about who we are. Moving to the next slide. We are driven by our purpose, and our purpose is really shaping a sustainable world together. Purpose is the reason we do what we do, and it is the core of who we are. And if I were to really break down our purpose, we can think about this in three parts. Number one, shaping. Shaping is what we do from cans to cars to consumer electronics. Globally, we have the largest market share in the beverage can space, almost about 1/3 of the global market share. In automotive, we are the largest player in the aluminum automotive space, and we deal with every OEM in the world. Our value proposition comes out of lightweighting of vehicles. For example, the Ford F-150, which is the largest single platform in passenger cars in the US. It is an aluminum intensive car. And what we really do is lightweight and therefore help reduce emissions. But every OEM, automotive OEM in the world is our customer. And that's a big space we play in. Outside of that, we also operate in the specialties space. So when it comes to specialties, we are in building and construction. We are in consumer electronics as a supplier to some of the largest players in the world, making iPhones, iPads, like Apple. We are into heat exchangers, transportation, where we make truck bodies, truck trailers, or rather aluminum for truck bodies and truck trailers. So that is what we call specialties. We also play in the battery space area, in the battery plates area, which is a growing area with the growth in electric vehicles. So shaping is what we do. Sustainability is our core. We are the largest recyclers of aluminum in the world. And we are making the earth better. What we have really accomplished in the recycling space is really an incredible story. Almost 60% of the material that we use is recycled aluminum, and recycled aluminum consumes just 5% of the energy that would be consumed in making primary aluminum. So recycling is something that is a very proud part of what we do. The other core word that you see in our purpose statement is world together. So together represents the possibilities of collaboration. We work together with our customers, with our suppliers, and really with all the strong partnerships that we have, it is a key driver of our success. So partnering is part of the way we work, in short. So moving on to the next slide. This is a little more about our sustainability objectives. What we have taken upon ourselves is to become a fully carbon neutral company by the year 2050. By the year 2026, we are looking to reduce our carbon content by 30%. We have set other goals when it comes to sustainability, which is 10% reduction in energy usage by 2026, 10% reduction in water usage by 2026, and 20% reduction in waste to landfill. Outside of that, we are very focused on diversity and inclusion. We are working on increasing the representation of women in our company, targeting 30% women in our leadership team and 15% in senior technical roles by the year 2025. We want to embrace the diversity of our employees and empower our employees to drive efforts to become an inclusive organization. And we want our management team to lead by example when it comes to inclusion. So it is all about strengthening our corporate culture and holding ourselves to the highest standards when it comes to becoming an inclusive company. Now, moving on to the next slide. So like all companies, the pandemic did bring some significant change in our lives and the way we do business. It accelerated our journey towards becoming a more digitized company. So what we are doing right now is driving an aggressive growth strategy. We are at the forefront in the industry to accelerate our capabilities towards Industry 4.0 capabilities. So that is a key part of our core strategy. I've already talked about sustainability, which is another core of how we do business, how we will continue to do business in future. Then the next one is about footprint expansion. So just at the start of the pandemic in 2020, we completed the acquisition of another peer in our industry called Aleris. This was like a 2.8 billion acquisition. And it is very strategic to expanding our footprint into new segments like aerospace, where we did not have presence earlier, but also strengthening our footprint across the world and in China in terms of geographic reach, and also in terms of higher exposure to the building and construction space, which we see as extremely strategic. So we have completed the acquisition and we are doing very well in terms of reaping the benefits of synergy from the Aleris acquisition. So that's the second part. The third part is really market forces. The pandemic has taught a lot of lessons to us, as to many other companies, about how we need to rethink about our supply chain. We have seen disruptions like the availability or the lack of availability of semiconductors, which impacted our customers in the automotive sector in particular, and therefore impacted us. Labor shortages have been a big part of the challenge coming out of the pandemic. And more than anything else, accelerating our journey towards industry best practices has become a core to our strategy. So we are rethinking the way we should be planning our supply chain in future. We are rethinking how we need to win the war for talent. So the pandemic has left a lot of lessons, and as we think about our strategy in future, it will impact the way we do business. So this is about how the pandemic has impacted us in the last couple of years, as we have learned all the lessons coming out of it. Moving to the next slide. Now we are touching the core of our subject today, which is the space around digitization. And really, digital technologies have become a key business enablers on several fronts. And I will start with the pillars of how these are seen by us. So the first is manufacturing and supply chain excellence, which means building best-in-class capabilities, both on manufacturing and operations and on the supply chain. Second is transforming customer experience. How do we transform the end-to-end experience with our customers? How do we enhance employee experience? And how do we move in an accelerated way towards back office process excellence? So essentially, we want digital technologies to be an enabler for transformation, transforming some of the key back office functions such as procurement and finance, and also enabling our human capital to work better and more efficiently, more innovatively. It's all part of how we think about digital technologies. And then product development and innovation, that's a key area. So as we partner with customers, applying digital technologies to do product development better, more innovatively, and becoming better partners is another pillar of how digital technologies are changing the way we do business. And there are countless ways in which we will be able to create an impact leveraging these technologies. And I can just mention some of them. For example, impacting plant asset performance positively, better supply chain planning, creating a safer manufacturing environment, driving better levels of customer satisfaction, process transformation, doing transactions more efficiently, customer value innovation, adding more value to our customers and making the relationship more strategic and stickier. These are just some of the many, many ways in which we are aiming to use digital technologies as a tool to transform the way we do business. Going to the next slide, how did we start our journey? And we started our journey much ahead of the pandemic. We did not really just wake up as the pandemic started, when many companies realized the need to accelerate their digital journey. We went into it before, and we are so happy we did that. So really the area we focused upon was advancing our manufacturing analytics capabilities. Over the last few years, starting from FY19, we have launched programs globally across our plants, targeting specific manufacturing sites and bringing in use cases. And with these use cases, we were able to impact our manufacturing efficiencies in a very tangible way. You can see from the slide that we established a center of excellence with about 100 people trained on advanced analytics and digital technologies and enablers. We had 15 use cases over 4 waves, and another 4 cases were added. To start with, we had 15 use cases. We had 15 use cases in the beginning. We added 4 more to it, and then later on added 8 to 12 in the 3rd wave. Right now, we have another 5 to 7 use cases in operations. So essentially, altogether, we have been first starting with pilots and then going to really expanding the learnings into going to other plants after doing a successful pilot, and then moving on to scaling it up further. So essentially, altogether, 50 use cases, which we executed successfully, delivering about a 3 to 4% increase in EBITDA, with return on assets or return on investments contributing to about 80 to about 85 million onto the bottom line. So a very successful foray starting into getting into the use of digital technology starting from fiscal year 19. And the journey continues. And just to make it more real life, what exactly did we do? I want to take one example. If you go to the next slide. So one of the things that we aim for is reducing melt loss in our manufacturing process. One of the key areas of efficiency, or if we don't do it well, leakage, is the melt loss. Now, the way we used to do it before was that an operator used to open the furnace door to see whether we are ready whether the melting of the metal has happened with the right parameters. And every time we were doing it manually, opening furnaces to check whether the batch has got the right composition and consistency, we were losing a lot of heat. And that is really wastage. Energy is one of our key costs. And from there, we basically developed a model which does not require us to do what we used to do earlier, which means physically opening furnaces. The model that we have developed digitally using big data now allows us to basically do everything that we used to do manually earlier in a way that when the batch is ready, we open the furnace once. So that prevents heat loss, and the operator automatically gets alerted once the batch is ready. And this has reduced energy consumption by 12%, which is really very significant. So this is just one example of how we use big data in order to move from a manual process to a process which was more digitally enabled. And we got some tremendous results from doing that. Going to the next slide. What were our learnings in the journey? The number one learning was about people. People are really the catalyst for change. When we launch a big journey like moving towards a more digitized environment, having the right level of education, training, explaining the why to people, why are we doing what we are doing, how it can help us solve problems, is all very necessary. If we do not go with a purpose which is understood by everybody, and we do not go with the right inputs in terms of training, we cannot be successful on the journey. That was one of the key enablers. Having a holistic vision which addresses people, processes, and technology is the other thing. The third is really using a piloting model, not scaling up before we have proven the concept. So the model that we used of doing a step-by-step scaling up has helped us be successful, starting from a proof of concept to then really incorporating the technology across the entire company. That model has worked for us very well, and that has become a best practice. So now we are at a pivotal point where the organization needs to be ready for the next step of growth. And this has become, in short, a key enabler to drive our future. So what are we doing? If we go to the next slide. In short, we are shifting from targeted use cases to a framework where the use of digital technologies becomes the way we work. It becomes just part of the DNA of the company. And you will see the focus areas: energy, maintenance, and reliability, to make sure that we are getting the best productivity of our assets. Syncing the plant with the supply chain and making sure that we are moving materials efficiently. Making sure that resource requirements are synced with operational planning and the S&OP process. These are some of the ways in which we are enhancing the impact of our digital journey, on our digital journey. And you see all the enablers. So what enables this? It is governance. It is measuring performance, basically first setting the right standards, setting the right expectations, and then measuring them to make sure that we are achieving what we are setting out as targets. Then making sure that we build capabilities into the organization, making sure that we are getting the right technologies. So these are some of the enablers. our aim is to really become a best-in-class Industry 4.0 technology company as we move forward. Going to the next slide. The concept that we are now working on is the plant of the future. We are making a $2.5 billion investment in a greenfield plant in Alabama, and that plant is going to be an example of what we call the plant of the future. By that, what we mean is that it is a far more safer plant, a far more efficient plant in terms of energy and resource usage, more productive, exponentially more productive than what conventionally used to be. And really, the holistic vision that we are talking about in our plant of the future will address energy and sustainability. It will address reliability. It will address safety. And it will address really becoming overall a best-in-class player, partnering with our customers. Going to the next slide. So what are the next steps? Reshaping the organization and the mindset, continuing to work on what we started back in FY19, enhancing our change management capabilities, making sure that we take the organization along, galvanizing an end-to-end process to experiment and deploy capabilities, and embed digital technologies as a part of the way we do business. That's really where our journey is looking forward. So that is all I had in terms of my prepared presentation. And Ani, if we still have time, Ani, John, happy to take any questions.
Dave, excellent presentation. It's so detailed, and it will take us a day to talk about it. But my one question to you is that you, towards the end of this presentation, you mentioned about your new plant and the plant of the future. Now, in terms of you have international experience of studying and working in India, in Asia, in Europe, and now you're managing the plant in China in terms of your company and in USA. Now, what do you see in the future this kind of collaboration would come from Indian manufacturing companies in US?
Yeah, I think that as we look at the future, I think that India is having the potential to move from just an outsourcing destination to a country which is really becoming a key enabler for deploying digital technologies across the world. I mean, all the companies that in the past used to be really doing transactional processing, and it was all about cost arbitrage, I see the opportunity of getting into the value-added space, and we see India as an attractive source of getting talent, of getting technology and capabilities, and really, in short, becoming a partner in the more value-added space versus the conventional transactional space. So that is where I see the biggest opportunity of working together with India.
Great. Thank you for your answer. John, do you have any question? Right. Okay. Please repeat it quickly. Keep it brief.
Thing between that and lunch. Well, thank you very much. I just said two things. if I may reuse your presentation in MBA class, because I think it's such a fantastic case showing the evolution of a state-of-the-art company moving into sustainability. And you didn't mention the UN SDGs, but you have really checked off so many of them as you presented, given what's going on in Sharm el-Sheikh, COP27, ending in a few minutes, actually. And then the second thing I wanted to say is that you have confirmed my intuition that India is moving from IT outsourcing as a source of revenue, as a source of middle-class creation, etc., to being a freestanding, innovatory power base. So thank you very much for confirming what I had come to a conclusion on my own.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Is there any technical question? If there is any technical question, we can take it now. All right. With this, Dave, I would like to thank you for your excellent presentation. And as John mentioned, we'll be back in touch with you soon about next version of this. Sure. Thanks for your
Perfect.
participation and support.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot for the invitation, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the sessions.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.